Hello and welcome back, adventurers. Today, let us learn more of Tepest and the people who call it home. Humans native to this realm stand apart from every other population of the core. Some similarities appear in the gods worshipped by the druids of Forlorn and those worshipped by the Tepestani, but the differences outweigh the similarities. The Tepestani have fair skin, more often than not heavily freckled. They burn easily on the sun, even under Tepest perpetually overcast skies, so wide-brimmed hats are commonly worn over the red locks. Indeed, hair seems to be a very important subject to people of Tepest. I discovered that complimenting someone on their hair was a perfect way to pry an opening in the wall the Tepestani put up between themselves and strangers. Speculating whether or not I should cut off my hair invariably initiated a lengthy conversation that I could direct towards more interesting topics. One truly remarkable aspect of Tepestani society is its near-total egalitarian nature, at least as far as the natives go. While much respect and deference is given to elders in individual families and communities, and while priests of all the native gods command the awe and respect of the population, the society has no fixed nobility or lower class. A handful of families can trace their lineage back to the old axe lords. Although these families tend to be among the wealthier Tepestani, they do not possess any political or other types of authority to force their will upon the rest of the population. Most Tepestani do not use family names, instead distinguishing themselves by their birthplace. It is proper to address a man as good man, a woman as good mistress if single, and good wife if married. The Tepestani value hard work and without fail take pleasure in physical labor. All but the youngest and most elderly, the most senior members of the Inquisition and ranking officers in Killer Militia, spend time either working in the fields, tending livestock, or fishing in Lake Kornov. A near-universal attitude holds that the gods smile upon those who work hard and who care about the well-being of their neighbors. Concern for the well-being of neighbors is also a key factor in decisions relating to marriage. While the Tepestani acknowledge and respect the power of romantic love, parents do not allow young people to enter into marriage on the grounds of love alone. Young men are expected to ask permission of a girl's father before courting her, and before a marriage can occur, all parents and siblings in a family must give at least a tacit approval to the union. Whenever a couple is married, each family gives it a land or livestock with which to start the life together. Each family is expected to provide an equal portion of the starting resources for the married couple. The concern for the community is also evident in how Tepestani raise their children. A child is not so much the responsibility of just his two parents, but is looked after by everyone in the village. As they grow older, children usually enter an apprenticeship or are given ever-increasing levels of responsibility, tending to their family's livestock or fields. With the exception of apprenticeships for future artisans, Tepest has no formal education system. Paradoxically, while the Inquisition spreads literacy among the Tepestani, it also strongly encourages the people not to trust any information that does not come from the Inquisition or from community elders. Thus, although most Tepestani are often preoccupied with the Fae and think they know a lot about them, most of what they know is only so much superstition. To keep the people safe from corruption by the Fae, the Inquisition must keep them safe from the outside world, and must keep society from developing any further. After a hard day's work, Tepestani like to gather with family in homes or with larger groups of friends in common rooms of inns to sing songs and drink weak barley beer and pear cider. A bard usually leads the songs for the larger gatherings, and they often perform solo as well. The songs constitute the primary source for history lessons for young and old alike. The largest festival of the year, the 3-day Harvest End Festival, in the fall features cloudberry wine, a bittersweet beverage made from the fermented berries. The same festival also involves a ritual sacrifice to ensure the communities hunt well during the winter and receive lush crops come spring. The highlight of the ritual is the immolation of a living goblin in honor of the gods. A type of pie, prepared only by the married women and served only in the festival's 3rd day, is said by many Tepestani to contain flesh from the sacrifice. Most Tepestani are reluctant to discuss magic, and priests of the land grow very suspect when asked about it. Members of the Inquisition became outright hostile. Both common folk and priests believe that magic and nature are intertwined in what they call the weave. They consider all magic as originating with this weave, and like nature, magic is uncontrollable and inherently dangerous. Only when priests use magic can it be considered safe for mortals, as the gods have tempered it. Other kinds of magic are sources of temptation and will inevitably lead those who use it down the path of evil. The fear and outright hatred of sorcerers, other natural magic users, and witches stems from hatred of the Fae. Tepestani associate beings with inherent magical powers with them, and they assume that anyone who can cast magic without spellbooks, or through other unusual methods, must somehow be in league with the Fae. The Tepestani honor and worship a small pantheon of native gods, as well as acknowledge the existence of other deities such as Hala and Lawgiver. On the surface, they appear to worship the same pantheon as the Farfarians of Forlorn. The gods have the same names, and they are generally called upon or placated for the same reasons. But there are differences. In Tepest, Belanus is revered as the god of gods. He is viewed as the organizer of their ranks, and without him, the world we know today would not have existed. In some tales, he is the prime creator, while in others he created our world by combining the singular creations of the gods into a coherent whole. He is also considered to be the god who cares most about humans, and who is their greatest ally in the struggle against the Fae. All Tepestani worship him, and each community has at least a small temple devoted to him. The most visible and most powerful religious institution in Tepest is Belanus's Inquisition. Overall, the group of militant priests and lay people has good intentions and is trying to do what it genuinely believes to be Belanus's will, saving the world by destroying the Fae attempting to corrupt and ultimately destroy it. However, these priests and lay people are operating from a foundation of ignorance, and as the time goes on, this ignorance will only grow. They believe that everything related to Fae is inherently corrupting, therefore studying the Fae can only corrupt the would-be scholar. They distrust direct evidence and rely instead upon their own superstitions, existing folklore and forced confessions. When an inquisitor uncovers some bit of gossip that indicates someone is in league with the Fae, and the inquisitor deems the claim credible, he has the accused rounded up and imprisoned in preparation for the trial. The inquisitor then collects evidence against the accused. Evidence ranges from anomalies that the inquisitor observes in areas where the accused will spend a lot of his time, such as the abundance of fairy stools, to tales regarding the accused from every wagging tongue in town. Observations and anecdotes are carefully recorded in the inquisitor's ledger book. No timetable is set for the investigation, but it usually takes a week. During the investigation, other folks are free to act as the advocate of the accused. They investigate on their own, gathering evidence, or hiring others to do it for them. Meanwhile, the accused is pressured to confess to his crimes, which often involves torture, but the tastes of the individual inquisitors differ. Confessions are drawn so the Inquisition can expand its knowledge base of the Fae's methods. Once a confession is extracted from the suspect, the Inquisitor takes all his findings and the full text of any confession to Wien. Wien compares the findings to all known facts about the Fae and discusses other explanations with the presenting Inquisitor and other leading priests of Belanus. He also usually has the accused brought before him so that he may question him or her personally. This process can take anywhere from a few hours to several days. In the end, Wien decides whether the suspect will be tried or set free. When the Inquisition tries a suspect, at least 3 of its members act as judges. Trials are typically held in a community that is home to the accused, and usually 2 or 3 judges are local inquisitors, with the third being a ranking member. All evidence is presented before the judges, just as it was presented to Wien. The Inquisition presents an accuser, and either the accused or his advocate presents a defense. Prosecuting evidence generally consists of little more than gossip or the rants of the prior accused undergoing torture, but such hearsay is often damning. However, if evidence is presented that clearly proves the accused to be innocent, they usually do get off. If the prosecutor is proven guilty, they can still integrate back into society. For that, they need to show that they have done something against their will and present the real guilty party. If the person is proven to have been consorting with the Fae willingly, they are swiftly executed by whatever means is most convenient: hanging, stoning, or drowning. The Tepestani bury their corpses of those so executed at crossroads, believing that doing so prevents the guilty spirit from finding its way home. Thank you so much for your time, patient listeners. Tepestani are fascinating people, holding on to both light and darkness in equal measure. The Inquisition almost disbanded after their mistake. I hope you'll be able to convince them to do so. And as always, be careful while crossing the mists.